Dorothea Lange is an American photographer best known for her work shot during the Great Depression era in the United States. She worked for the Farm Security Administration, which was a federal agency created to document and remedy the difficult of the poor, both urban and rural, in the 1930s. Her work was known for humanizing and also highlighting the struggles of the Great Depression. Lange always had a talent for highlighting the poor and the forgotten. One of her most famous photographs, titled Migrant Mother, was taken on a farm in Nipomo, California in 1936. It was used for the Farm Security Administration and was seen in newspapers, magazines, exhibitions, and displays. It features a desperate and hungry mother with her children hanging on her. The intense shadows of the photograph add to how the viewer sees the woman. It makes her appear much more aged and tired and shows the visual signs of her struggle in America. The head-on angle of the mother with her children in the background allows the viewer to focus on the details and distress in the mother's face, but also see her surroundings, the children clinging to her, and the bland, dry background. Lange later said that she didn't remember telling the woman about her camera or how she approached her, but she knows she ended up taking 5 photos with slight adjustments and few words were passed between the women. This background adds to the weight of the photo and its meaning. It was a vulnerable moment between a woman and a mother at a time when she was most vulnerable. Dorothea started as a portrait photographer during the Great Depression, but by 1933 she was photographing life outside of her studio. One of her first photographs with this in mind was the White Angel bread line, San Francisco, taken in 1932. It features a man turned away from the bread line that served the unemployed. In the photograph, the man looks hungry and tired and has a look of despair on his face. His jaw is hardly set and his fingers are intertwined. The black and white color gives the photo a vintage feel and drives home the theme of the Great Depression and the drab colors along with minimal details that allow the viewer to interpret the photo more as Lange intended, especially because of the upward angle she shot from. The negative space at the bottom of the photo creates an almost empty feeling in the photograph that it seems the man is staring into, leading the viewer to believe that he is deep in thought or to interpret what nothingness he's staring into. This photo was a big start to her career as people began to see the social issues she was able to capture through photography. It holds historical significance in capturing the lower class doing whatever they could to survive. In 1941, Lange was awarded the prestigious Guggenheim Fellowship for Achievement in Photography. After Pearl Harbor, Lange gave up the fellowship to shoot for the War Relocation Authority to document the evacuation of Japanese Americans from the West Coast. This photo here is captioned Grandfather and Grandson in the Manzanar Relocation Center. It shows the grandfather looking into the camera while the child stares off into the distance. It is a head-on shot with the empty sky as the background. The photo was taken outside and uses hard light that is brought from the sun shining down, casting shadows around the prominent features of the grandfather and the shadow of the child on his back. This photo is very drawing because of the expression on the grandfather's face. It is hard to tell whether it is a look of content or a look of sadness. The photo is very drawing because of that look. The viewer knows the photo was taken during a hard time for the subjects, but it seems as if the subjects are making the best of it through his expression and the fact that he is connecting with his grandchild. This photo is very typical of Lange's portrait style with the head-on shot of the two. It is almost as if the grandfather looking into the lens captures his true knowledge of the situation, and the child looking away represents his innocence. This photo was taken in July 1942 and was used for the WRA. This photo is very important to photography, especially ethically evaluative photography, because it is one of the most striking images that Lange took in her assignment with the WRA. It was taken to capture the anxiety that Japanese Americans faced while waiting in camps during the evacuation. Many people saw Japanese Americans as the enemy at this point, and Lange did a fantastic job at capturing how much they were going through and humanizing them for a lot of people. Another one of Lange's photos for the Farm Security Administration is titled Happiness Is, and it was taken in November of 1936. This photo is of a pregnant woman living in a squatter camp in Kern County, California. The photo is a full-body portrait of the pregnant woman holding a puppy in her arms and resting on her belly. She is leaning against a wire fence and wearing dirty, beat-up clothes. She appears to have very thin shoes on that are worn out. The woman has a very plain expression on her face, yet there's a hint of a smile. Seeing the puppy in the belly makes the viewer see the smile just a little bit more. Lange set the shot up very well, with having the woman on the fence leaning against, but also trees and land in the background. It seems there is side lighting from the right of the woman, casting a shadow of her body onto the ground. Lange used the rule of thirds to center this woman in the photo and to position the foreground and background. This image captures the creation of life in such a hard time and a bad location. This woman has a puppy and a baby and is in an awful situation. Lange captured the photo and titled it, knowing that it represents the idea that happiness can be found even in the hardest of times. While Lange captured mainly portraits of ethical issues, she also had a talent for capturing unlikely scenes that commented on ethical issues. Her photo, called Western Exposure, was taken in June 1938 for the Farm Security Administration. It is of the New Mexico desert, specifically Highway number 70. At a glimpse, it is a beautiful shot of the highway with the mountains to the left of the photo, with sidelight that is casting a shadow on some nearby plants, and a good amount of negative space with the path and the sky. It is a very nice black and white one-point perspective photo, but it is much more than that. This road has significant meaning because it is the route that many refugees would have crossed on their journey to America. When that background knowledge is known, it adds to the photo much more. The negative space and one-point perspective turn into an empty landscape that goes on and on for miles and miles, and the sidelight is seen as the sun that beats down on refugees all day. Lange did a great job at bringing deeper ethical meaning to a beautiful landscape, something that wasn't done often in photography at the time. Looking at Dorothea's work, she was an incredibly talented photographer who had a heart for photography and those in need. She would often comment on the current state of photography, and she often spoke about the true meaning of photography. She would call on photographers to go out and reconnect with the world, and that is something that she did every time she took a picture, and it is evident in all of her work.